Absolutely. As now we see the drivers make their way into the pit boxes. Dobbs, Robertson, Kinder, Barlow going to go all through four of them and take his place on the first pit stall. Wide bracket falling in behind. As now we wait to see these four tires and fuel and who's going to be able to win off pit road first. Adam Lancaster drops the jack first. Alan Dobbs is going to get off away early as Lancaster is going to jump all the way up to third with that, almost beat Robertson, and they make contact, and that is not what you want to see. That might be a pit exit violation on 28, but that is a very devastating blow to number 2 car. You got to hope he didn't get too much damage out of that, but that was a hard hit to the inside wall.
Down the straightaway, we'll get a replay here and show you that one again. That car was really consistent and really strong. I was thinking Robertson was going to be a big factor in the finish of this race. You see Adam Lancaster and Brandon Robertson coming out side by side from the exit of the pit lane, and there was for the completion of 4 fresh tires on that machine. Dobbs got him out of the pit lane, no question about that, but Lancaster got a really great pit stop, came out beside him, and just trying to have enough room between both himself and the wall and himself and Lancaster. Obviously, he misjudged how much room he had to his right side and just clipped that wall. Unfortunately, that's going to be a big blow for Brandon Robertson, but he should be able to get that car fixed up and maybe before we even get back to green flag racing, get it back on the grid.
So getting on pit lane is going to matter a lot. Getting off of pit lane is going to matter a bunch as well. And we also see that margin from second and third starting to close up on the race leader, Jesse Webb. We were talking about the headlights. He was making good use of them there, trying to warn, oh, trouble in front of him. Look out, that's right in front of the leader. He somehow gets by after the 2 lap cars tangle in turn 1.
It looked like Gergois might have gotten on the brakes a little bit too hard, and he will collect Mick Blue as a result. Not too much critical damage for these drivers, but handling is sure to be an issue.
So Gergois, the car that got into the back of Mick Blue, who perhaps was maybe trying to yield to the leader, who was warning that he was en route and on the way. And Mick Blue also ended up spinning around. They now fall a lap behind the leader, who, what a job, though, by Jesse Webb to slam on the brakes as they all came into turn number 1 with a full head of steam. And due to where Gergois' car spun on the pavement as we back into the barrier here on board with Mick Blue, looks as though that Webb is going to live to fight another day. Here it is out the back of Gergois' car, and here comes Webb. Deep down to turn number 1, just right into the back of Mick Blue, and there goes Webb, able to squeeze on by, and just like that, that is how quickly things can come undone for the front runners in lap traffic.
7 rather, and it ends up working for Bruno, but I'm not so sure that I would have done the same thing there into turn 1 like that, or turn 2 rather. Oh, Safeker's around!
Okay.
Oh, Jesdal had that big issue. Whoa!
Hey, just punted him right around. Luckily, he was able to get that thing fired up really quick, Jesdal.
Yeah, that was Jesdal. He goes around out of 7. That's what I was saying. He is the reason this all happened. So Jesdal has this spin, and wow, he just got on the power, I think, too much in that compression and spun the car around. And suddenly, here comes Nate Siefker, and Siefker's just got this big head of steam. It goes off track to clear him, and then gets punted off for doing so. I'm not sure that was intentional from Jesdal. I think it just ended up happening that way. Of course, Siefker going off track like that probably is already on the binders as soon as he gets back to the black there. And Jesdal just wasn't ready. Let's put that behind us. We've got to restart to focus on 2 laps to go. It's green-white checkered. Out of 100 laps, we now have 2 more to go to make it 104. Anthony Masadi, the race leader. Jeremy Berger, second place. The 2-car Jack Ryan in there as well. How does this shake down?
You see Stephen Parrott. We haven't seen much of him. So here is. Oh, they're wrecking!
That's everybody.
Oh,
that's everybody.
Upside down. Yeah, that's the whole field right there coming
Holden
back
McGill
again.
just did a barrel roll out of turn 4. Everybody's in this, and we're still crashing. We're still crashing. We're still crashing. Oh my. Oh, we're still crashing up here. We're creating new crashes. Oh boy.
Buddy in the field. We'll get a replay, and I don't know if you can pick out one single car to follow through this one, because this included most of the cars left in this race.
Through 3 rounds of racing in the UFL Elite Series this season, we have seen 3 different winners, and even if you want to tack on our dual races at Daytona, 5 different winners across 5 different races. We have seen parity up front, and really, we have no clue who's going to the playoffs. Well, I should say who is going to the playoffs with the biggest head of steam and who is going to win this championship. It's round 4 at Rockingham. It is the Light Stuff 125 at Rockingham Speedway on Pit Stop TV. Thanks so much for joining us once again this season. And, well, Rockingham Speedway, there's so much that can be said about it, yet so little that drivers can do to actually tame this place. I know Darlington is the track that's too tough to tame, but I think Rockingham is right there along with it. I am solo in the booth this evening. Zach Murtis is headed to us #soon, so we will see him joining us at some point in about, I'd say, about the next 15 minutes or so. He will be lending his voice to this broadcast. But let's talk about Rockingham Speedway, the fastest lap time here in the current NASCAR Cup Series vehicles, set by Brody Kostecki, a 22.567. These guys about a second and change, almost a second and a half off of that time so far in our qualifying session. You see qualifying times rolling on in as well. Matt Kemp, the fastest of the bunch so far. There's a look at car 54 as he wraps up his qualifying run. Brian Mercurio, he is quick as well. And just looking through the field, we have got some very close lap times, even some ties out there. And for pole, it's only a separation of 3/1000ths of a second between Matt Kemp and Nate Stewart. Some cars on track for timed laps. Here's one of them, Carson Bowers. He had a rough week at Auto Club a few weeks ago, but to the line here in qualifying, what can he do? In car 14, and, well, he's going to throw it into the fence, I think, with some frustration after only going to 19th position in qualifying. Parker Chase, on the other hand, up to 12th. Car 26 suddenly picks up some speed and moves up the order. Tristan Hagenstein wraps up his run, and it looks like we may have seen already the final of our runs this evening. Some of these guys in these oval leagues, they get their runs out real quick and decide to go in the first couple of moments of a qualifying session. But how about Cosman? He's on track currently from Rise Esports in car 94. The only car currently on track. While he turns some laps, let's talk about our weather conditions for this race. 78 degrees in the air, 134 degrees on track. And let's talk about our standings. Round 4 of the season. Here's a look at them. And I think if I just were to say nothing, absolutely zero, and just let this all kind of play out in front of you, let you just look at this graphic, you'd be able to get an idea of how the season has gone so far, aside from the fact that Ryan Vargas, who won at Daytona, has not been here since. So he is looking to go technically back-to-back for his starts this season. If he can win this evening at Rockingham, that would put him back on top of these playoff standings. You can see we'll be taking the top 12 in standings for our chase this season. That puts Corey Heim, the first driver out. That is, if Vargas is still locked in, and we have to confirm that. So this is very unofficial. However, when I asked John Palmieri earlier this week if we were going with NASCAR rules for this, he said yes. So that would put Ryan Vargas in the playoffs currently if we are counting his win at Daytona as locking him in. So this could be subject to change, but I like this way better anyways because it puts Pacioli and Heim on that cut line battle by only 4 points of separation. Otherwise, you got 13 points of separation from Corey Heim to Cosman Yanosho. So I really like this this timeline, if you will. This is, yes, Vargas is still locked in. That's what I figured would be the case, and well, that I think really brightens up the story then for car number 30, and he doesn't have to worry about his NASCAR commitments quite as much. So, yeah, I like this timeline where Vargas is locked in, Corey Heim, Timmy Pacioli only 4 points apart as we head into round 4 of the season. Guys who on this list, I think, maybe just outside looking in that easily could move themselves into this top 12. Well, certainly Corey Heim is one of them. I think Cosman could do it with some stage points. I think even Jonathan Palmieri has shown speed to do it. Cy Bowen has been absolutely fantastic in the couple of starts that we've seen from him, and Jesse Love, frankly, I think could surprise us with a win today. I say surprise. He's been in the front each race we've seen him in so far this season, at least mixed it up, especially going back to last week at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but you just never know, especially here at Rockingham Speedway. You simply never know. Well, with all of that out of the way, the formalities, I suppose, checking in on things, we can take a look at the schedule. Rockingham round 4, this actually gives us a good idea of how close we are to the chase here this season. Only 12 races, and the chase makes up the final 4, beginning at Talladega with the Talladega 212, and continuing on to North Wilkesboro Speedway, then Kansas, and the season finale at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So we are very, very close as times roll in our warm-up session. This gives us one more chance to kind of look through the field and see who's quick. One of those drivers who's quick is Andrew Schwartz, now second quick in this short session as he passes Daniel Dye in the back straightaway. And let's ride on board one of these NASCAR next-gen vehicles and just listen to what he's doing. Andrew Schwartz up to the top of the board with that lap that we rode on board for. He's clearly got something figured out here at the Rockingham Speedway. And he goes faster than Matt Kemp by 42 one-thousandths of a second. He's clearly got some speed in car 67. He's one of those drivers that's just on the outside looking in. I think 15th in the standings, and he goes even faster here. Yeah, 15th in the standings, 18 points out. Might be looking at car 67 to put himself into the playoffs this evening at Rockingham Speedway. Cosman also quick, up to second in our quick warm-up session. Only 5 minutes. These guys making the most of it. How about Morgan Baird in car 98? He's 11th. Manon Rahman in 9th currently. Barrett Polhemus in 8th. A lot of guys that we haven't seen a lot of this season are looking very quick in this warm-up session, including Joel Smith, the youngin'. The youngin' from EPI, Elite Performance Industries, qualified his way into the show today and is fast. Car 9 currently 4th in this warm-up session. Corey Heim, for being 4 points out of the playoffs right now, he is well down the order in this warm-up. 17th and searching. He's behind Cy Bowen now, well, up to 7th. And now searching for Carson Bowers potentially, 6 one-thousandths of a second behind the 14 car on the speed charts. And quickly you can see just how populated this track gets. It feels like happy hour almost from the old NASCAR games, that last session before you actually go racing after you qualify. And now you know where you're starting. And you've got to try and lock in and just find the extra few tenths that maybe you weren't getting in that qualifying session. I will say I actually really appreciate this kind of format from the Untitled Friend League. Ryan Mercurio, second quick. He moves up the board in the 41 car. Ryan Vargas now checks into the lap time finally, and he is struggling for grip on corner exit right there to turn 4. 27th out of 27 times. Let's see if maybe he can find some extra speed on this lap. You can see Cosman Yanosho sideways in front of him. And Vargas, by the way, up to 12th that last lap. Now 13th as Cy Bowen goes a little faster. So Vargas not really lacking in the speed department. You can see he's picked up a bunch. And right behind his friend Nate Stewart, and well, unfortunately gets hooked and takes a header into the outside wall. But 20 seconds left, not much you can do anyways. Here's Paul Fode, the Firelight.GG driver, Firelight Esports driver of Paul Fode in the 88 car. And of course, this is the Light Stuff 125, and a big shout out to Light Stuff and Firelight Esports for picking up sponsorship of this event, all through Paul Fode. A big thank you to him, as he's looking to put some easy cheese on the racetrack, but he is currently 27th quick of 28 times in this session. So he's looking for a little bit more when we go racing for 125 laps. Michael Conti talking about riding the fence, and I really like that somebody brought it up. If nobody did by the time that Zach Murdos got here, somewhere around hashtag soon o'clock, I was going to have to mention it because I'm really surprised at how many drivers in their qualifying runs, the few that we saw anyways, and even that warm-up, are down on the bottom of the racetrack. I expected a lot more drivers to be higher up the track already, even before we go racing and searching for speed, but that does not seem to be the case. It seems like these guys are favoring the kind of inside line. So very interesting to me, at least. We'll see if that changes over the course of the afternoon. Also, I do see Josh Stiles out in the chat, and Josh, a big shout out to you and everything everybody does over at Firelight Esports and Light Stuff presenting this evening's race. Check out Light Stuff at lightstuff.gg. You can also find more about Firelight Esports and firelight.gg, well, at firelight.gg. The presenting partners of tonight's 125 lap race. Our field is gridding up. We're ready to go racing for 125 laps. Let's meet our starting grid. On pole, it's Matt Kemp in car 54. Nate Stewart will start from second spot. Ryan Vargas, he qualified well. Let's see if that translates into the race in car 30. He starts from third. Zach Nichols from fourth. Joel Smith from fifth place this evening. Timmy Pacioli starts from sixth. Leighton Sabili and Brian Mercurio make up round four. Jake Fisher and Jonathan Taylor complete your top 10. Corey Heim starts from the best starting position. I think he could start from aside from first in 11th spot. Parker Chase from 12th this evening. Keith Sherman from 13th. Then it's Barrett Polhemus and Cosmin Yanosho to complete your top 15 ahead of Gabe Herschel, Daniel Dye, Ryan Pistana, Carson Bowers, and Ford Martin checking into the top 20. 16 more starters in the field. 21st, it's Anthony Rotolo. Jonathan Palmieri starts from 22nd. Manon Rahman from 23rd. Tristan Hagenstein from the 24th position, starting 25th. It's car 22 of Sean Farr, everybody's favorite out there. Peter Acumano will start from the 26th spot. Starting 27th, it's Morgan Baird. 28th, it's Cody Williams. Further on back is actually, it's getting cut a little bit short. We're going racing early in the Light Stuff 125. Green flag is out at Rockingham Speedway. One lap quickly complete. Matt Kemp out to a solid lead over Nate Stewart. It's only lap one, though, and that four car can easily eat into it as these laps go on and these tires break in. Down Thunder Alley, Joel Smith on the inside, looking to the inside of Pacioli. Here comes Jonathan Taylor taking advantage of the top side already. Michael Conti, you called it out. The top side, I think, is going to be rather valuable to these drivers. They've just got to learn how to use it. As Joel Smith now crosses over to the top side of the racetrack, Jonathan Taylor takes a look underneath. Jake Fisher sitting back here as well. He's a bit slower that time off the top side, but the benefit is he's able to roll straight out of the corner, whereas Leighton Sabile had one heck of a catch out of the corner that time. Got real sideways off the bottom side of the track, and we'll see that, I think, be a theme this evening. The bottom side gets real loose, especially at a turn two, and I think Thunder Alley must be named Thunder Alley because of how hard you hit the wall there. It sounds like thunder if you come off the bottom side of the racetrack and just nail that concrete wall. Drivers settling in. 4 laps complete this time by. A big separation back here from 10th to 11th. Parker Chase in the 11th spot. Keith Sherman working on him, and Zach Nichols purple that lap. How about Paul Thode? He's back in 33rd spot. Got by Austin Moore on the start. It looks like Brian Mercurio started from the pit lane. So Thode in 33rd position. Oh my! What a catch. Scared us a little bit. Josh, don't look. Back up front, this is your picture in the top 4. Matt Kemp leading over Nate Stewart. Zach Nichols in the 3rd spot. Ryan Vargas 4th, and a bit of separation from 4th back to 5th. Pacioli kind of lagging back ever so slightly. I love that sound here at Rockingham. Engine speeding by the start-finish line. Looks like a setup here from Nichols on Nate Stewart, potentially starting to work on him as we've got 3 wide. Jonathan Taylor to the inside of the 9 car. 3 wide into turn 3 at Rockingham. Seldom works out, but that time it does. These drivers mind their P's and Q's. Taylor working on Joel Smith, and Zach Nichols in the foreground takes the second spot away from Nate Stewart, who now works the top side of the racetrack. A lot of moving around already. We're seeing these different lines give their benefits and drawbacks early. Racing to lap 45 in the stage, and Nate Stewart seems to be already falling off. But Zach Nichols, he's only getting better and better as this short run goes on. Lap 9 now of 125, and the 45 car is all up and all over Matt Kemp. A much better run out of the corner there for Nichols. No attempt into turn 3 that time, and I can't blame him there. It just feels too early to force anything. You got to set somebody up, especially for the race lead, with a quality pass. Here comes Nichols, though, on the front stretch. A good shot here to turn 1. He's going to take it. Side by side up out of turn 2. A save there into Nichols. Again, you've got to be so careful up off the bottom here tonight. We're going to see that be a theme. He's not done, though. Zach Nichols coming back in the 45 car. He's got to run again. A little tap there to Matt Kemp as they fire off into turn 1. And Nate Stewart way up to the top of the racetrack. Nearly gets the fence. I think might have grazed it. Gets a whole shot down the back straightaway, though. It's not going to be enough to catch him back up to the 45 car just yet as he sends it in on the bottom side of turn 3. It seems like the bottom is much better here in 3 and 4 than it is in 1 and 2. And Nichols now going to try and split the middle, maybe now back down low as they pass the 16 car of Cody Williams, who has fallen well off pace. And I'm not sure there's really a reason as to why, other than he's slower than the other cars around him, which is not easy to swallow at a place like Rockingham Speedway, but it is unfortunately the reality of many. And that would include myself. 12 laps complete. There you go. There's some ripping the fence through the middle of the corner, the center of the corner, get that run off, and a big diamond exit works out for Zach Nichols to pull to the inside of Matt Kemp for the race lead on lap 13. Now Kemp way up the track in 3 and 4. Stewart goes even higher. He's going to have a run potentially, and it stalls out. But Zach Nichols is searching. He's finding things, and now Kemp straight back to the bottom side in turn 1. Big bobble there out of the 45. Nate Stewart now looking for turn 3. He's going to use the top side here. Matt Kemp married down to the bottom side of the racetrack, but Stewart trying the top, and it's going to work. Alongside for the race lead is car 4, and he's going to have the nose advantage into turn 1 this time. I'm surprised Kemp isn't covering this up. He must really like something about the bottom side of the track, as wow, he and Nichols both got real loose out of turn 2 that time, and Nate Stewart has cleared the 54 for the race lead. New leader, car 4. And the Sunoco Race Fuels Chevrolet Camaro just kind of stagnating here in the lead. Is Joel Smith to the inside of Ryan Vargas. That got scary. And where did he come from? Joel Smith drove up to these 4 and has got some speed apparently as he races with Ryan Vargas. And Zach Nichols has an attempt here on Nate Stewart for the race lead. And I think Nate grazed the fence there to turn 1. Vargas up top, the other 3 down low. And just as soon as the 4 looks good up top, he looks a little worse. And Joel Smith, a good catch that time out of turn 2. He'll sink back down to 5th and bring Jonathan Taylor into the conversation. Vargas checks up. And we've got a 3-car breakaway out front. Been using this on board a lot. Zach Nichols, he's been riding in second a lot, but always has some kind of good move in the works. That time, it looked so good until it didn't. A good catch, though, out of car 45. Able to hang on to it. Lap 18 complete this time, and Zach Nichols still not able to do anything for the race lead. Gonna hug the inside line this time. I think he's got the track figured out better than the rest of these guys around him right now. He just can't use it fully to his advantage because there's a car in the way every time he tries to do it. Some battles further back in the field. How about this gaggle of cars? Ryan Pistana, Barrett Polhemus, Carson Bowers, Gabe Herschel. This is 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th positions. Throw in Palmieri for 18th spot. On board of the 3-car, Polhemus real loose up out of turn 2 that time, and just like that, the ebb and flow of turn 2 presents itself once again. We're going to see that all night long, I think, over and over and over. Now Herschel, an attempt here on the top side of Polhemus in the 79. Going to sail it up to the top of 1 and 2. And Palmieri on the top side of Carson Bowers, taking that spot away. This field's already stretching out over this racetrack quite a bit as Palmieri works on Pistani, gets to the top side of the 43 car, and should be making that pass here shortly. He will. Paul Fode, the last car on the lead lap currently, is out of turn number 4. If we find him here on the blimp, there he is at a turn 1. Our race leader, Nate Stewart, is already exiting turn 4 as he has put some gap on Zach Nichols and everybody else, but behind him, look at this battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Joel Smith, Ryan Vargas, and Jonathan Taylor. Taylor sitting in the 6th spot right now. He started, I believe, 10th, yeah. A little ways back at this spot. He's driven up through this top 10. And looks middle there, backs out. That was wise, as I think even Vargas saw it. Here comes Mercurio. No, rather, that is Jake Fisher in the 86 car with a run suddenly. 84 rather, Pacioli in the 86 right behind him. And these guys real close, real tight up out of turn 2. And a caution flies. It's Parker Chase in the back, involved in car 26. And unfortunately, the Slow River Blend, number 26, Toyota Camry, nearly gets into the light stuff number 88. Let's take a look back at what happens here to Parker Chase on lap 24. Certainly not the night that he wanted to have, at least not the start to the night that he wanted to have. This is up out of turn 2. And I think this is the lap prior. So we'll see this kind of develop as he was racing with Keith Sherman in the 15 car. Very early, but very possible that we could be seeing some tire degradation, lead handling issues to have a caution here. But I'd imagine there was, well, yeah, it looks like he was just getting loose early into turn 2. Loops it around. Barely keeps it off for the 15 car, or 16 rather, of Williams, and down into the inside wall. Pit stops underway. Your top 4 stay out. That's Pacioli, Heim, Sabile, and Wetz. They all stay on the racetrack, but everybody else comes in, including the race leaders here. Matt Kemp, one of them. Nate Stewart right behind in the 4 car, and Stewart the first down off the jacks and the first out of the pit lane. Followed up by Kemp, who gets out in front of the 9 car of Joel Smith. Zach Nichols drops 2 or 3 spots in this cycle of pit stops. Jake Fisher will exit in the 11th overall position. Mercury and Williams also stay out. Williams will be taking the lucky dog and will pit here in just a moment in car 16. Here he comes in the number 16 Cody Williams Designs Chevrolet Camaro. And it looks like he's going to be joined by Chris Wetz as well from the 71 car. And that leaves Pacioli, Heim, Sabile, and Mercurio on the racetrack, not opting to pit under this yellow flag. Pacioli, the race leader, behind the iRacing.com safety truck. We'll be right back after a quick pit stop TV side by side. Welcome back to the virtual Rockingham Speedway. Up out of turn 4, the iRacing.com pace truck quickly to the safety of pit lane, and Pacioli gives us the launch. Matt Kemp spun those tires big time. Mercurio actually might have been the one that spun the tires. Kemp takes advantage, and we are 3 wide through turns 1 and 2. And they sort that out quickly with Nate Stewart. Fresh tires off the top side. He's already third ahead of now the 25 of Leighton Sabile. They check up behind a bobble from Zach Nichols into turn 3, racing with Jonathan Taylor. 1 lap complete from the restart. It's Pacioli out front. One car in the fence. That was Ryan Vargas in the 30 car. Already Corey Heim going to take a look, it looks like, to try and defend from the 4 car of Nate Stewart. And Stewart, on 25 lap better tires, will make easy work on the top side of the 11, as he'll now drop behind Pacioli, drives straight to the outside of the 86 car. I don't think that was planned, but he'll take the opportunity. And out of turn 2, here comes Nate Stewart. Once again for the race lead, the Sunoco Race Fuels number 4, taking command early and by force off of that green flag restart. Here comes Kemp now in third. Side by side for second. He gets on by Pacioli out of turn number 2. And here comes Joel Smith, also on brand new tires. The Elite Performance Industries number 9 through the middle of the racetrack, drops down to the inside of Pacioli, going to take that spot away. Corey Heim just kind of having to hang on and hope he gets a few positions out of this for the stage. Again, the stage at the completion of lap 45. Zach Nichols in deep, makes a little bit of contact there with Corey Heim through turns 1 and 2. And the 11 shuffled out of the order. Here comes Jonathan Taylor, Ryan Vargas there as well. Vargas on new tires, but nowhere to go with it. Really, it's hard to say you can make 3 lanes work. You can go 3 wide for a short time, and Vargas pitching now down onto Jake Fisher. I think there was some contact there in 3 and 4. And Zach Nichols quickly looking to the underside of the 86 car of Pacioli. He will make that pass, it looks like, this time through 3 and 4, and he does. So Pacioli down 1 more spot, now in the 5th spot. Meanwhile, this is the view for Corey Heim. He's got Vargas to the inside, Fisher to the outside, now both of them to the inside. That might not work out, and sure enough, Fisher came across the nose of Corey Heim, and Ryan Vargas said, "I'm out." And Corey Heim's going to send Fisher to turn 3, keeps hitting that bumper. Well, we have seen the chrome horn already. Lap 35 and 125, 90 to go. And tempers are flaring at Rockingham just a little bit. Nothing too aggressive, nothing too crazy, as Bowers, a real good catch up out of the corner that time. Bolhemus going to take advantage of Heim sliding around and trying to hang on to those older tires, and now you have to wonder if it was really worth it for Corey Heim as he nearly comes across the nose of the 79 car. Still watching this battle, Bolhemus now ahead of Corey Heim. Heim drops to 11th, now 12th. He's out of stage point contention, and we'll just have to keep giving those spots up. Up front, though, it's all Nate Stewart by about a half second into turn 1 that time over Matt Kemp and Joel Smith. And I gotta say, I am very impressed with the 9 car this evening. Last week at Las Vegas, a rough go. Only made it to lap 1 before he had contact and was the cause of a caution. Tonight here at Rockingham, he is turning things around and is in the hunt, maybe for a stage win. If he can play his cards right, it would take a lot, but it's certainly not outside of the realm of possibility for car 9. That said, he's been very reliant on the bottom side, much like Kemp was in the earlier run. Further back, here's the battle at the top 10 cutoff for stage points. Currently, Bolhemus the last car in, but Pacioli on old tires, he's sinking through this field. They'll make quick work of him this time in 1 and 2. Here comes Bowers to the inside. Herschel going to try to follow. Now Bowers the final car in. Look at that line of cars behind him. And Gabe Herschel goes on through to the 11th position in car 07. Pacioli going to lose that spot and fall to 12th. Sherman going to come on into the battle. And one car after the other passing the 11 and the 86, and everybody who stayed out, including Brian Mercurio in the 41 and Leighton Sabile in the 25. As one car down to the inside, that was Acumano. He hangs on. Hagenstein a moment there as well. But Leighton Sabile, kind of the oddball out here of the drivers who stayed out under that yellow. He restarted third and is currently 26th position on these old tires. Just trying to hang on, make something happen on the bottom side, and not lose too many more spots. Here comes the 40, though, of Doug Denice to the inside. Good to see Doug in the field, by the way. He's missed a couple of races, not able to work his way into the field through knockout qualifying. Tonight, he was able to do so. Up front for the stage, we've got 3 cars in a line. Kemp taking little bits out of that lead every time they slide off into the corner. Two laps to go on the stage. And even Joel Smith, I think, is in a really good spot here. If these two get to racing in front of him, watch out for the 9 of Smith to try and take advantage. He slides back a little bit this time, and this is just a product of him running on the bottom side of the racetrack. He loses time on corner exit, but looks really good in the corners. Here comes Matt Kemp, though. An opportunity for sure, this time into turn 1, and oh, Nate Stewart cuts it off. Here comes the 9 car underneath Matt Kemp for second, and Joel Smith wants to take that spot away and get 9 stage points here. Back down to the inside goes Smith, and I think they should all hold station while Carson Bowers will be the final car to the stage finish. But Nate Stewart, stage 1 winner at Rockingham. And 45 laps are complete of the Light Stuff 125. Nate Stewart is your stage winner. We'll be right back with pit stops from Rockingham Speedway. Nate Stewart down and away. He will be the second off a pit lane this time, beat just barely by Matt Kemp. And that is what winning the pole can do for you at a place like Rockingham Speedway. And oh, I think it was speeding in the pit lane for Nate Stewart. Wins the stage and tries just a little too hard to get out first. Wow. That is a killing blow for the 4 car this evening. That is really, really tough. 4 cars stay out once again. All 4 different from the previous yellow, and all 4 did pit under that previous yellow. Daniel Dye, Parker Chase, Manon Rahman, and Jake Fluman will stay out. Those are cars 46, 26, 44, and 99. That leaves Kemp the first on the racetrack with tires, Smith second, then Zach Nichols and Jake Fisher. And Buff Barnaby, I'd like to know what race you're watching. If you think anything at Rockingham is boring, get your blood pressure checked. I don't want to say get a psych eval, but maybe that as well, because Rockingham Speedway provides, I think, the best racing on iRacing.com reliably. You can go to different tracks and get really good races, but I think a lot of drivers would agree with me. Rockingham reliably gives the best racing over and over and over, I think, on average. Also, I said we'd have Zach Murnis joining us hashtag soon, and Zach, we've waited so long into this race that the soon left the graphic. It's going off the right side almost of the whole screen, but Zach, welcome.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm actually just coming off a P3 finish at Rockingham myself, so I have a little bit of experience rolling into tonight, so hopefully I can get some good driver feedback.
Well, Daniel Dye stays out under this yellow. Parker Chase will take over second, also staying out. He was the cause of our first yellow, by the way. A spin out of turn 2 that just kind of took the entire length of the back straightaway. But the car looks better than it did under that spin. Looks like he took no real damage and is looking pretty okay for this restart. Manon Rahman, Jake Fluman, they also stay out. Matt Kemp, the first car on tires, will restart 5th. Joel Smith from 6th. Then Zach Nichols, who's been really fast. Jake Fisher in 8th, Jonathan Taylor and Ryan Vargas to complete your top 10. And in case you're wondering where car 4 of Nate Stewart will be restarting for the Light Stuff 125, well, he's restarting 31st, end of the longest line before drivers that I think topped off on fuel. So 31st starting spot it is for the guy that won the stage but took a speeding penalty on exit. And out of turn 4, we've got exactly 75 laps to go in this race. The Light Stuff 125 has a light 75 to go. Looking like parade laps down to turn 3 this time, and one to the inside, way in the back. Matt Kemp way up the racetrack in the third corner.
They are 3 wide rolling off turn 4. Joel Smith up on the top, a little loose on the bottom. I'm not sure who that car was on the inside.
Whoa, Joel Smith in the fence.
They are all over the place.
He gave a big shot to Fluman into the corner and rode the wall through turns 1 and 2. He has dropped out of the top 10 as everybody goes on by. 3 wide behind. It's the cow car. Oh, and we've got crashing. Manon Rahman in the fence. Joel Smith with him. And we have got a caution flag on the racetrack once again. Manon Rahman, a large impact anyways, and yeah, it looks like a lot of damage as well to the 44 car.
Wonder if that toe link is disconnected. Is that right side wheel, that right front bobbing around a little bit?
It looks like it's okay. Admittedly, I'm a little surprised myself that it's not worse for the 44 car. Let's check this out down to turn 3. I'm not really sure how Joel Smith gets into this, but we're going to find out as, Ryan Vargas just got real loose and ultimately sent the 44 pretty hard.
That looked just blatant contact right there that sent both of them into the wall. Vargas looked like he either just missed his braking zone or it just snapped loose on him going into the corner, and obviously it's just going to turn into a crash fest after that.
Let's watch this for the 9 car as he's got nowhere to go. Joel Smith, you see Vargas just gets in deep. Smith into the outside wall, pretty heavy, and really nothing he can do.
Really, Andrew, honestly, looking at it, it looked like a little bit of netcode. There didn't seem to be a ton of contact between the two.
Yeah, of course, netcode is prediction kill, right? It predicts what's going to happen as we take a look at what happened to Joel Smith into turn 1 to get him in that spot anyways. He just ran deeper to the corner than Fluman, I think, not realizing that was a car on old tires, and that's some awareness that I think will come with age, I'll be honest. I love Joel Smith, everything he's doing in his legend car career, and hopefully late model career soon, modified, who knows, racing career in general, but that was a racing awareness kind of thing that, again, just comes with age, comes with experience, and I think a few years on the line he'll be a lot more aware of it and not send it into that corner like that. But a little bit of netcode maybe from Vargas, but that's iRacing predicting where the 30 car will go next and trying to be one step ahead of the game so that it is in real time. Unfortunately, it gets it just a little bit off from what visually happens, and I think Vargas would have still got into him in that case. I think he still would have gotten into Rahman. It was just a little bit of discrepancy.
Yeah, just even the slightest bit of margins. And obviously, like you said, iRacing just tries to predict what's going to end up happening, and that's where the netcode kind of falls into play. But, you know, it's also just a matter of Rockingham is quite a difficult track, especially in these next-gen cars. And, you know, we're rolling through the Season 2 build, and these cars underwent a little bit of changes, so I'm sure these drivers are still kind of adjusting to what the car is just giving them for tonight.
This is the Light Stuff 125, and both Light Stuff and Firelight Esports are riding on board the number 88 this evening. Paul Fode started towards the back in 35th, and that is actually the last spot on this racetrack currently. He's been as high as 29th, but he is playing the long game, it looks like. Playing the full Light Stuff 125 as he currently sits in the 32nd position right behind Doug DeNice and in front of Manon Rahman. Joel Smith, Timmy Pacioli, the only two cars currently not in our pacing field, and there goes Joel Smith out of the pit lane. Pacioli, he was really good. He was leading not so long ago, and it looks like he might be done for the evening potentially. This is concerning.
That is quite unfortunate for Pacioli. Obviously, just a driver that's still really fast when it comes to a lot of these tracks on the schedule, and just to see him out of the race, you can already see the pit timer. He is well into past a minute of time spent on pit road and almost a full minute spent in the box, so he's either taking as much optional as he can and risking the laps down, or yeah, he is just done for the day.
We'll have to wait and see. There was some beating and banging, some cars sliding around and moving around that last restart, but hard to say exactly what role he played. The top three are still on old tires. Zach Nichols, the first driver on brand new tires. And Manon Rahman was the other of the four that had stayed out on the previous yellow. Waiting on the green flag on the air for Daniel Dye. He continues to lead here at Rockingham, and we are back green flag. Parker Chase loses the second spot to Zach Nichols. Here comes Jake Fisher as the 99 of Flumen falls back. Parker Chase not wanting to give any spot up, though. He's racing real hard down to turn one. Fisher, though, on the inside. Should get that spot away. Maybe not so easily.
The outside line is just so powerful coming off of turn two. It's really hard to complete the pass if you do not have that nose clear. And Fisher is just rolling through turn three. It looks like he's going to clear Bowers for the spot, or Parker Chase for the spot, and take away that third place.
And Michael Conti mentioned it at the top of the show. The top side, it's intriguing what drivers do and do not do with it. Mentioning out in YouTube chat, he's intrigued to curious to see who's actually going to make the trip up there and use the top side of the racetrack. I don't think we'll see anybody rip the fence. I don't think that's really in the cards this evening. And Parker Chase, real loose out of turn four. Thankfully catches it. Yeah. But as far as the top side goes, the bottom is real loose at a turn two. I think that's the biggest thing we've seen this evening, and the biggest reason to at least run the top side out of 1 and 2, and Aculano in the wall hard. We stay green, but that was a massive hit as Pacioli re-enters the racetrack, and Aculano's still trying to get back rolling, at least at speed, and he might be headed on the pit lane here.
Well, the safe thing to say, though, is the toe link is not broken. He seems to be rolling okay. He seems to have that car pretty well straight. His wheel might be cranked in one direction, but he's still rolling. We got a pass for second place here as Jake Fisher has gotten past Daniel Dye on the outside, and he is rolling down the front straightaway going into turn one to chase that lead down from Zach Nichols.
Yeah, Daniel Dye finally had to give the lead up, did so to Zach Nichols, and on came through the 84, and Jonathan Taylor, a big catch that time out of turn two, and sometimes even guys who are on the top side get loose out of the corner. Now back up Parker Chase, Morgan Baird, and Corey Heim in the 10th spot. A lot of cars back here with a lot of different stories in this race, just trying to find their way forward.
Big thing drivers need to realize when it comes to the next-gen cars that it's just so different from the Gen 6, and the rear tires tend to wear out a little bit faster than the front, so you got to make sure that you're conserving those rears and not abusing them too much, as we've got so much fighting going on throughout the field.
This is Mercurio and Yanisho for the, looks like 11th position. Mercurio wins that fight. And right in front of him, Morgan Baird and Corey Heim. Baird gives that spot away. Heim trying to go by on the bottom side. It's not done yet. And now, finally, Baird got the fence that time. And coming way low is a 3-wide situation. That was Polhemus on the inside as Nate Stewart makes his trek back to the field. He's up the 15th spot and gets cut off that time by Cy Bowen. Now Stewart in the fence, and he looked like for a second he was going to give a shot there to Cy Bowen. And again, Stewart won the stage. He's led 27 laps in this race, the lion's share of that opening stage. He's the best car on the racetrack, I think, tonight. It's a matter of whether or not he's able to fight back through the field after that speeding penalty at the stage break.
He seems to be doing such a good job right now. Obviously, he's back in the 31st position. He's made up at least half those spots from being in the back of the field. It's just a matter of fighting around this traffic. They are almost, no, they are 3 wide in front. Parker Chase in the middle. They are making contact. We got a wreck. Big wreck. Is Nate Stewart going to make it? No, he is not. So close.
And there it is. That is why you just can't have those kinds of mistakes. And Nate Stewart up. Oh, when he gets hit again by Morgan Baird there. A perfect stage 1, but he got into, I think it was Polhemus that was turned around pretty hard.
Look at his nose, though. He is square. He seems to be fine.
It's not. It's bent up there on the left front. You can see this.
Now I see it. Yeah, I do see it.
A good bit of damage there on the left front. I don't know if that's from Baird's impact or the initial impact, but Nate Stewart took a pretty big one that time. Let's go back and take a look at it. We were riding on board when it happened, but a lot more to learn.
Right place, right time for the broadcast, but not for Nate Stewart.
Let's ride back on board with him here and just try to figure out what happened. Jake Fisher, Parker Chase, Morgan Baird. So it was not Polhemus he got. I failed to remember exactly who it was. Chase caught in the middle, and you see they all just kind of wad up and head on into Morgan Baird, and then he hits Morgan Baird a little bit later again, as I think Morgan was just trying to get back on the racetrack.
See Nate Stewart just picked it back up, and just nowhere for him to go. Obviously, your first thing as a driver is just to go low. You see them wrecking high, and then you just try to check up. Sometimes they just spin back down the racetrack.
Morgan got the fence there that time out of 4, and
just goes for it.
Parker Chase was just backing up, and ends up in between Cosmignano Show and Morgan Baird, and they all just kind of wad up. I will say, the guy who's real lucky out of all of that is Leighton Savile, who goes right between a couple of spinning cars, and who maybe even consider Ryan Pistana lucky, considering he got hit in the right side and kept going without issue. A couple of really close calls for a couple of drivers. Let's go on board here inside the car for Leighton Savile and see exactly how this looked.
He's got a perfect look at what's going on. You can see going on there on the outside right of your screen. There's the wreck. My goodness.
And then for the 43, he goes to the inside here. Morgan Baird just gets him there at the right side. And I don't think that really hurt Pistana's car at all, but he does come down the pit lane under this caution and get it tended to.
A little bit of damage around where the crush panel is. You know, it may affect it a little bit, but at the same time, you can never be more safe, especially at short tracks when it comes to damage on the car. That is the wrong pit lane, Nate Stewart.
That is definitely the wrong pit lane, and it looks like it may be it for Nate Stewart in the 4 car. He is 1 lap down and coasting down the back stretch pits.
Maybe the engine expired while he was riding under caution.
The engine's on. He is.
But you can see there's no pressure.
Well, that doesn't get reported anyways. That stuff that does not come through. That's interesting. And he's. It seemed like he had power. He had actual power there. Let's go back to when he left the pit lane and just watch. On board with Nate Stewart, pulls away from the box.
It just dies on him.
It's got power. He is still stopped. I think he towed back to the pit lane. Very curious as to what's happened to our Stage 1 winner, but he is done for the day. Meanwhile, Jake Fisher and Ryan Vargas are our front row as we look to resume this race with 55 laps to go. It's Light Stuff 125 at Rockingham Speedway. Check out lightstuff.gg for more information there and to check out their catalog today. 55 laps to go, and the yellow has just been extended. And I'm not really sure what for. I wonder if there was a hardware malfunction for the 4-car.
It's definitely a possibility. Do we see Nate Stewart back on track?
It looks like he's actually just left the session, potentially. I was wondering if maybe the caution extension was to get him back in the field. But he is still in the pit lane. His name is grayed out. It looks like he is done. So that leaves us with 33 cars on track. Pacioli, 4 laps down, has rejoined the field. Paul Fode, the last car on the racetrack. Parker Chase, Morgan Barrett, Andrew Schwartz stacked up in front of him. And the iRacing.com pace truck lights have been extinguished once again. Everybody in the top 14, by the way, did not pit. That's Jake Fisher, Ryan Vargas, Matt Kemp, Jonathan Taylor, Cy Bowen, Barrett Polhemus, Jonathan Palmieri, Gabe Herschel, Anthony Rotolo, and Keith Sherman. The top 10, we'll just stop there. There's a lot of names, though, that stayed out. The first driver on tires, Zach Nichols, in the 15th position. Let's try this again. 54 laps to go on the Light Stuff 125.
Big contact.
Big crash in the back, and the 91 was one car I saw, Austin Moore, and we are not caution flag yet. There it is, finally. Oh, Morgan Baird, way after the crash already, gets into Daniel Dye, and that's unfortunate for the 46 car who had a few laps led earlier on, and that is not what he needed.
That toe link on that left front is not looking too good.
That toe link got broke in the contact from Morgan Barrett after the crash. Let's take a look at it. Austin Moore was the first car that I saw sideways, but where does it start? Well, it starts with Austin Moore narrowly missing Corey Heim. Daniel Dye gets involved quickly. Cody Williams there. Zach Nichols, the first car on tires, and Morgan Baird late.
I'm not quite sure where he was going, to be perfectly honest. It's straight into Daniel Dye. You had cars in the back like Joel Smith who almost got collected in that as well.
Here's a look at it from Zach Nichols' perspective, and here comes Austin Moore up the racetrack. I don't know if he thought he was clear or if he just came up further than he was planning to or what happened, but came across the nose of the 16 of Cody Williams, and that's how it gets all stacked up. But I will say, all things considered, the nose of that 45 looks pretty clean.
Looks a lot cleaner than I expected it to be. Honestly, the left front and the right front look pretty clean as well, especially when he had cars on his inside and the wall on his outside.
Another look back at it here. This will be a pretty straight-on shot down the backstretch to see exactly what Austin Moore was going for in the 91.
Three wide coming
here,
off the corner.
he just came up the racetrack. It's certainly not intentional, just a little miscue. And Joel Smith, well, again, I love what he's doing in his career. Unfortunately, this is not how you get past a crash. And this is nothing against Joel, but when I see a bad wreck avoidance like this, I do think it's worth noting, as this is an example of what not to do, Zach.
Yeah, you just see Joel. He has an incredibly clear view of what's going on. You can see it, and just so late on the checkup. Gets into two cars and misses Daniel Dye, and then you can see Morgan Baird back there. Just heavy contact. Didn't even slow down. I just got to say, for the two of them, just you guys had so much to look at, to see what was going on, and the wreck could have been avoided just a little bit better. Nothing against either of them. Like you said, Andrew, just great drivers all around. Just needed to be a little bit more aware of what was going on.
I think Morgan, they both slowed down. They were just late to do so. It didn't slow down as much as the guys in front of them. More pressure on the brakes, and I wonder if they've, you know what? I wonder if they've got the rubber that comes in some brake pedals that really makes it hard to stop on the brake pedal. That always got me when I was having to go through all that. But got in there, took those out, no problem anymore. Jake Fisher leading. We've got 50 to go. And I do have to wonder, as far as the tire situation, not much changed. I mean, only 12 cars stayed out. Again, a couple of cars that had stayed out previously were caught up in that yellow. This goes from now Jake Fisher all the way back to Ford Martin in 12th spot. So throw Tristan Hagenstein into the list of drivers, along with Ford Martin, that have stayed out on these tires now for a couple of yellows. Corey Heim, the first car on tires. Zach, if you restart in 13th, sure, you've got fresh tires, but 50 laps to go and counting in Rockingham, you're 13th. There's a lot of work to do, no matter what kind of tire situation you got going.
Absolutely, but you've also got 50 laps to go. You've got plenty of time to just be patient. If the cautions keep coming out, you're sitting in the catbird seat. Your tires are not taking that much wear and tear. Maybe if there's a late race yellow and you stayed out on all these cautions, your tires are going to be fine, and you'll just be able to roll and stay out and take that track position away. But big thing is, you just got to be able to manage them well, and don't abuse them trying to come through the field, because you will abuse them a lot faster than you think you will.
Inside of 50 laps to go. In fact, 49 remain at the Light Stuff 125 from Rockingham Speedway. Green flag is back out. Jake Fisher leads us to the green. One car way down low. It's Hagenstein. Austin Moore also low. Everybody finding their own lane through turns 3 and 4 at Rockingham, and one lap complete from the restart, and it's still the 84 out front. Ryan Vargas has trouble, though, behind, and that is in the form of car 7. The American Badass Whiskey number 7 car has shown up.
Going down into turn 3, Taylor is looking to the high side to get around Vargas, and he's going to get the run. No, actually, he's getting tight, washing up the racetrack. Vargas is going to stay well clear, and we have got a fight for the lead going on. Kemp looking to the bottom. Jake Fisher all the way up on the top side. You're able to really get that run and set the car coming off of turn 2 when you run that high side. You got Cy Bowen right here sitting in the 3rd spot, riding on board. You can see just where these drivers are moving around. Matt Kemp, a little bit of a wash-up going through 3 and 4, and they are digging right now, man, trying to see what they can do with these cars.
46 to go. Where did Cy Bowen come from? He's had a bit of an interesting day, certainly storytelling. Started 29th, currently 3rd after running 32nd at one point earlier in the show. And Kemp sails it up top. That actually might be an opening here for the 17 car out of turn 4. And, well, maybe not so fast. So side-by-side for 4th are Jonathan Taylor and Ryan Vargas.
Taylor is still going to stay well clear, as you've got the 79 looking in, just trying to see what he can do to catch Vargas.
Well, Hemus out of nowhere as well. Just these guys showing up in this later in this race. How about Jonathan Palmieri suddenly in the top 10? But I mentioned at the top of the show, this was somebody to watch for as the day goes on. And he has put himself in a really solid position now, as Jake Fisher might have some trouble from Cy Bowen out of turn 2 this time. On board here with the race leader, Cy Bowen to the inside.
Something happened to Matt Kemp as well, as he is dropping back a little bit.
Rewind! Nothing happened to Matt Kemp. He's sailed it up on the top side, and he's going to take back over at Rockingham Speedway. Nothing happened to him, but one of the best moves we've seen all night, if not the best. And it comes for the race lead on lap 82.
Yeah, I thought something had happened. Kemp lost position to Cy Bowen, as Jake Fisher's going for the lead again, but he went around the outside and took that lead away. And he is going to continue to fight with Jake Fisher to hold on to that lead, clearing going into 1, maybe not. Jake Fisher side by side with Matt Kemp going through 1 and 2. Zach Nichols goes purple as well.
Nichols purple that lap, side by side for the race lead though. Kemp and Fisher. Fisher on the inside, Kemp on the outside, and there's a crash in the back. Cosmin Yanisho and Carson Bowers involved, and finally the caution comes out, and it looks like Kemp is your race leader.
They wadded up.
There's car 94 involved in this one, car 14 as well. And yeah, well,
ooh, that's one way to go.
That is one way to do it.
There was a WADA coming off of turn 2. It looked like Ford Martin got in the wall, and there was just commotion coming off of 2 going down the backstretch.
I can't say I'm a huge fan of the intent crash to end your day, but hey, if it works out for cars, then it works out. Ford Martin, the black and blue machine on the top side of the racetrack in front of the white and blue 14 of Carson Bauer. As you see the 94 down low of Cosmignano Show, and this is what happens at a turn 2. Martin up the racetrack, got loose and used the wall to catch it, and then both of them headers to the inside wall and back up the racetrack as well. Wow, that tags a 16. That is really unfortunate for Cody Williams, but what a job of locking it down.
He did a great job of keeping it off the wall, and a lot of good wreck avoidance from the cars in the back, just staying off of really what was going on in front of him. He makes good of a bad situation. Looking on board with Cody Williams here, coming off turn 2. He sees the wreck going on in front of him. He sees him wadding up, sees the smoke, and up the racetrack. Gets a little loose in the contact, and
it wasn't even from the contact. He got sideswiped, but the car got loose when he let the clutch out. He put the clutch in when he slowed down to try and miss that, I think, so that he could get on the brakes hard and not have wheel hop down through the gears. But when he let the clutch back out, well, there were problems, and Zach, it's looking like he's got some bigger problems now. The left front of that car is really not how it should be.
it is very much quite smoked. It's the big thing you have to think about when pushing the clutch in. It disables the engine braking on the cars, and it allows you to put more brake pressure in, definitely, and it stops you from having to deal with normal problems that you would get under normal engine braking. But you let that clutch out, you're still at a high RPM, and you run the risk of not even just spinning the car out. You could drop the tranny through the floor, and that motor will go bye-bye.
Lap 87 of 125. 6 cautions so far for what will be about 24 laps, it looks like. When we resume action, we'll be right back at Pit Stop TV after our Pit Stop TV side-by-side. Welcome back to the virtual Rockingham Speedway. Inside of 30 laps to go, Matt Kemp starts on the outside this time of Andrew Schwartz, and Kemp spins the tires big time. Schwartz, the only car to stay out under that yellow, but it was Kemp with the tire spin as we're 3 wide through 1 and 2. Cy Bowen, I think, got the fence. Jonathan Taylor to his inside. 3 wide for third spot to the inside of turn 3. Taylor in the middle, Ryan Vargas trying to stay back and just play nice. And Andrew Schwartz drives away with the race lead. He's got old tires.
You know, a lot of these cars are just seeming to be pushing tires. There were a lot of contacts coming off of turn 2 that last time by, and so much fighting going on. There's a single filed out majority of the top 10, and rolling through, you can see all the fighting going on throughout the field. And Andrew Schwartz is still holding about a 5-10 second lead over Matt Kemp with Jake Fisher and Cy Bowen falling right behind.
See some 3 wide situations further back in the field, including right here, right behind Gabe Herschel. It's now 2 wide, but Zach Nichols at the top is going to pass Chris Wetz and maybe go down to the bottom as Joel Smith runs way down low underneath the 71 of Wetz and makes it 3 wide into turn 3 that time by backing out. Palmieri losing a spot here. He loses positions to Ryan Vargas. Actually, no, to Corey Heim. Vargas losing a spot there as well. He has fallen back on this restart in the 30 car. He was racing for 3rd, fresh off the green flag, and is now back in the 8th position as Heim has gone by him. So a lot changing. Before we get to the end of this race, let's revisit our point standings, though, and there's a good reason for it. Now, these are unofficial, but per us, well, they're unofficial playoff chase standings, whatever you want to call it. Kemp, Frisch, and Vargas locked in currently with a win each. Mercurio, the first one in on points. Then Fisher, Sabile, Nichols, Herschel, Moore, and Taylor all feel pretty good right now, although that could change. Then you got Butler, Pacioli just to the inside. Butler not here this evening. Corey Heim is really overperforming. He has done fantastic and is just trying to keep himself in the top 10. Andrew Swartz, even more so overperforming right now. That's why I wanted to bring this up, as well as Jonathan Palmieri. Those two, I think, are really surprising me tonight. Cy Bowen has been quick lately, but the 67 and the 3. The 67 is leading. The 3 is in 9th. And Andrew Swartz, well, he's got company for the race lead. He leads no more as Matt Kemp goes back to the top spot here at Rockingham Speedway, but Swartz is not done.
He is fighting back on the inside, still on the quarter panel, going down into turn 3. Kemp is going to get clear, and Swartz is just going to fall back in line. You know, he doesn't need to really fight too much. He's going on a good point today. He lets him laps. He's going to get some bonus points, but he's sitting in a great spot, especially with drivers like Pacioli out of the race. You know, this is just great to see drivers who need to do what they have to do to get into the playoffs, and they are not waiting around for something to happen. They want to make their own luck. They want to do what they can. You know, Schwartz, Palmieri just doing what they can, and you know, Schwartz is now giving up more spots. You got Fisher going to the inside, and Schwartz is going to do whatever he can to keep that car in a good spot, as many points, maximize the amount of points that you can get on race day. Just do what you got to do to really just get it done.
Some might say it's better to let the Wookiee win in this case, let these two cars go by and save your tires, but I think for Andrew Swartz, it's important to fight, slow these guys down. They might run their stuff off and come back to you at a place like Rockingham. But Cy Bowen sends it up the inside of the 84 car of Jake Fisher, this for second, as they've gotten by the 67 car, but we'll come back to that Andrew Swartz story before the night's over, as that was some door-to-door contact, and Cy Bowen goes through, and Jake Fisher, whether it's on his own accord or other drivers, he has had some contact this evening. Got sent by Corey Heim earlier. Just had a bit of a door there from Cy Bowen, whether it was intentional or not. He is just getting used up.
It's bound to happen, especially at a short track. And you just got to honestly be able to deal with it at this point. It's like Darrell Waltrip says. If you, what was the saying? It was something about if you're scuffed up on the left side, you're in the way, and if you're scuffed up on the right side, you're not going fast enough, something like that.
The one I like better is if you've got damage to the rear, you're in the way. If you got damage to the nose, you are moving. Obviously, you were fast. I like that one better. Not the exact saying. I think that was from Dale Earnhardt or something, but regardless, there's a great fight on screen. It's Corey Heim and Jonathan Taylor. This for 5th, and Ryan Vargas back in the chat. He's now in the 7th spot, and now right behind the American Badass Whiskey number 7 car. And, oh, Jonathan Taylor way down to the inside there for turn 1. Checks up big time.
That opens the door
or
for
turn
Vargas,
3, rather.
Not going to get it done. You can see Corey Heim up there in the top 5 as well, just in front of Jonathan Taylor. Maybe he was just trying to follow him, do what he could to stay with him and just keep that track position. And that's actually something big I want to talk about, track position. You've got Andrew Swartz that stayed out. And if he gets another caution, he's in a good track position spot. You got Corey Heim, who did take tires, who is just now back up inside the top 5. And as they are fighting back there, Palmieri on the outside of, I believe, Mercurio. And they are both looking on Vargas to try and see what they can do. And Palmieri is just hanging on for dear life, really, trying to hold on to that track position.
Plenty of tires to go around this evening, in case you were curious. 4 change sets for these drivers, 5 total. And a lot of drivers have only pitted 3 times, so most of the field should have at least 1 set in the pit lane, if not more.
Oh, big snap!
Oh, no! And Palmieri, his luck has run out. And, oh, my!
Oh, my goodness! They're still wrecking. Palmieri in the inside wall. 3, 4, 5 more cars. Parker Chase involved in that one as well.
A really big impact, and just when it was looking good for Palmieri in the Speed Division's number 3, unfortunately, that car is toast.
It is very much toast. Looks like he's crab walking. He is killed.
It initially wasn't so bad, but the caution didn't come out immediately, and frankly, I think he let the brakes out maybe. We'll see. This is out of turn 2. Mercurio and Nichols on his back bumper and inside. Mercurio down low, Nichols behind him.
I think the problem was that Palmieri didn't realize Nichols was making such a huge run. Look at him on the outside line. Yeah, just a big snap right there. There's the spin.
And here comes the field. Chris Wett slides in. It's hard to say exactly what Palmieri maybe should have done, but really, really massive hit.
I think he might have just been trying to get the car back straight. Thought he could save it, do the 360, and get it back rolling straight, and just rolled a little bit too much into the rest of the field.
Another look here. Watch Mercurio on the inside in the red 41. Palmieri, just gets loose, comes down the racetrack across the nose of the 41. Spins around, and right here just lets the car roll up. And Chris Wetz, I think, was already crashing into him, which is weird, and we'll get a look. Hagenstein is involved there. A lot more still to diagnose. We've got 21 to go under this caution flag. But what was happening with Chris Wetz and Joel Smith in the front stretch? Let's take a look. Ford Martin on the outside. Chris Wetz down low in the green 71. And Wetz checks up. And, oh, wow. He threw the car sideways in his downshifts to try and miss that. Manon Rahman and Parker Chase get involved. And Joel Smith ends up taking a big hit as well.
Joel Smith has been a cushion for punishment, really, these last few wrecks, and just nowhere for him to be able to avoid any of this mess.
Look here from Joel Smith's on board.
There's the wreck. Yeah, just figured you'd be able to keep going.
I can't fault him on that one.
You really can't.
Inside of 25 to go. The yellow, it took a long time to actually come out. I think, yes, if you see smoke, I would lift. But that's not the same for everybody, and everybody does things differently, especially inside of 25 to go. Here's the onboard for Parker Chase. As he gets involved in this. He checks up pretty good, Rahman as well, but just they chose incorrectly and maybe came up on it a little bit quick. But hey, that turned Chris Wetz around.
Very true.
Silver lining to everything, that's what I say.
Looking at the positives from the negatives, really. Just got to take what you get.
To everything. Cy Bowen, the race leader, that's our silver lining currently. He missed the first couple of races. Actually, I think it was just the first race at Daytona. It feels like it was the first couple of races because he didn't make the duels either. But missed the first race at Daytona, showed up for Auto Club and has been on fire since in that number 17 car. But speaking of the duels and just where everybody is kind of falling into this season, let's take a look at the schedule. February 8th, 2023 was opening week. It was the Hog Tamers 500 at Daytona International Speedway. We skipped a week for February 15th and came back racing on the 22nd. Ran last week at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Tonight here at Rockingham. Next week we go to Atlanta. We've been points racing for exactly a month, Zach, and things are working out pretty intriguingly as we get even closer. In fact, this is the halfway point in the regular season.
Yeah, this is go time for these drivers. They got to figure out what they're going to be able to do to get themselves locked into the playoffs. And, you know, I think you could agree with me on this one, Andrew, halfway through the season, but towards the end of the regular season, you got Coda, which is a big outlier. There's a lot of people that are really good road course ringers and know how to get it done. And yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see how these guys be able to tackle the rest of the season moving forward. 4 more races to get yourself locked into the playoffs.
Inside of 20 laps to go. The front row is Cy Bowen and Zach Nichols. Into the Geico restart zone. Green flag is out. Nichols. Well, actually, Bowen came up the racetrack. I wonder if that'll be a penalty. Kemp is getting swallowed up. 3 wide into 1, and Corey Heim on the top side.
Ford Martin spun the tires on the restart, and that's just wadding them up in the back, and they're 3 wide. Oh, we got 1 car that's Parker Chase below the yellow. They keep it going.
Manon Rahman up the racetrack into Matt Kemp and Corey Heim. They catch it. Rahman still trying to hang on. Everybody avoids. Job well done from the entire field. Zach Nichols up front, the top 4 cars on old tires. 5th place, Corey Heim, the first car on new tires. As here we go, Nichols to the inside of Bowen for the race lead.
Topsy-turvy events going on this racetrack. We got a lead change and a wreck in turn 3.
No caution yet, and yellow does fly.
Parker Chase again.
Chris Wetz as well. Hagenstein. 4 of the same drivers that were just in that last wreck, as it looks like Joel Smith gets a piece. Smith might have missed it and just slowed down, but Parker Chase involved here. He was racing right behind Chris Wetz. I think Wetz might start this, or at least be in the start of it. No, it was Hagenstein and Moore.
My goodness.
Oh,
Parker
man.
Chase was gonna make it and got collected a second time, and that's a lot of rear end damages. We've got Toe Mater on the racetrack right now.
Yeah, Wetz, I think, got a frustration of trying to get that car back around. What goes wrong here? That's what I'd like to know. Something goes wrong between the 27 and, I think, Robin, the 44. So a lot of the same players that were just involved in that. He got into Sean Farr. How about that? Sean Farr making his first appearance of the broadcast this evening. And Parker Chase really hard there into the outside wall with the rear end. Gets hit again by Pacioli.
You were right. Joel Smith actually did make it through that wreck.
Finally, an upside for him. A silver lining, although he is 1 lap down. You know what? Pacioli was 4 laps down not so long ago. He is now 1 lap down as well in 27th, and he could absolutely top 20 depending on the way that the rest of this race goes. There's something in the air, Zach, and it's 78 degrees. 134 on the track. It's tough.
I can't imagine 134 on the track. These cars got to be screaming loose. It surprises me, actually, the track temp is so high for Rockingham, and we're coming in almost 10 laps to go here pretty soon. We might be going green around 10 to go, and this is go time for these drivers. A lot of drivers with damage. You've got the guys who are up at the front who think they can make something happen. You've got drivers like Ford Martin who are running inside the top 5, hasn't been really contending in the top 10 all day, and it's so many different circumstances can unfold here right now.
We have 14 laps to go that last time by the stripe. Pace car lights, pace truck lights in this case, have not been extinguished. So while we wait on what could be the last restart of the evening, we will go Pit Stop TV side by side one more time. Zach Nichols, Cy Bowen, Gabe Herschel, and Ford Martin stay out once again, as does most of the rest of the field. We'll be right back. "12 laps remaining from the virtual Rockingham Speedway. It's Zach Nichols out front, Cy Bowen second, then Gabe Herschel, and a big checkup coming through the gears. Ford Martin really checking up on the restart. Here comes the whole field trying to take advantage, and the 33 falling back might get tipped there by the 54 of Kemp. We're still racing, but a lot going on inside the top 5 and top 10. Kemp up the racetrack into Martin a little bit. Now Ford up the track again. Oh, man, a lot going on up front. Zach Nichols pulls away, and Corey Heim is working on Gabe Herschel.
Ford Martin just going backwards right now. There's so much fighting going on throughout really the top 10 as they're single file for the most part, doubling up around a couple of other cars. Corey Heim got the nose coming up too, but big contact. And look at Fisher all the way to the bottom.
Oh, he turns him up the
Big
track,
contact.
and they saved it.
What a save. I don't think Corey Heim's going to be very happy about that one, though, as Jake Fisher is still going down.
Oh, and he turns down. Corey Heim turns straight into Jake Fisher. Fisher puts him in the fence. Tempers have officially flared. Ford Martin involved. Mercurio Rotolo up onto his side.
That is good old-fashioned tempers flaring, and Joel Smith trying to get around a lot of people just trying to avoid what is transpiring right now from what seems to be a little bit of a hot temper tonight.
The rocks have met their hard places. There was a lot going on for a couple of laps. We've got a lot to go back and check out. This goes back to earlier. Jake Fisher made a little bit of contact with Corey Heim, and Heim sent him into turn one. Fisher caught it. I thought maybe it was done there. Just a message sent, but here, Fisher sends it in. I think Heim could have given him a little more room, but Fisher goes onto the apron to make the corner, contact, and Corey Heim took a few zip codes to try and catch it. Then Fisher goes to the inside, and Corey Heim says, no more. Turns down left into him, and Fisher puts him in the fence.
All a lucky break for Ryan Vargas, though, almost getting collected in that. But there's a lot of cars that didn't need to be collected. Ford Martin, Rotolo, just so many drivers that didn't have a play in any of this. And, yeah, you can see just the rest of them falling in, just trying to avoid or just not getting the wreck.
A lot of tempers between those two. And here you see again where Heim turns left. Fisher then turns right. Vargas says, I want no piece of this. Goes by on the bottom side. Can't blame him there. And they all just kind of wad up. Rotolo, a really, really big hit. Heim spins down to the inside, and many drivers lucky to get by this. Cody Williams gets a small piece. Joel Smith gets a bit of a nudge there from Hagenstein.
You had Heim come back down the racetrack after the spin, hit Ford Martin into Pistana, and multiple cars involved in this one. Even just after the incident, you had multiple cars involved in it. One more look at it. Sabile got clear. Vargas all the way on the bottom. He backed out thinking something was going to happen. He's definitely right. You see Ford Martin in the wall, and then they're spinning in front, and there's the big contact. Rotolo just up and in the fence, and just so unfortunate for a lot of these guys. Cody Williams right there trying to squeeze through the middle and nowhere to go.
Corey Heim in the pit lane. I don't think we'll be seeing him back on the racetrack, unfortunately, not tonight. It looks like Jake Fisher is going to continue on. He did not pit in all of that. You can see Heim in the pits there, but Fisher did not pit under this yellow. He is 20th spot. Cars one lap down include Pat Gioli, Smith, Heim, and Rotolo. Yanisho back on the racetrack, 9 laps down. Palmieri out of this race in 30th, 14 laps down. And Fisher's going to roll with it. A lot of damage, but he's not alone. Paul Foda's the only clean car back here, I think, as he rides in 21st. And this Firelight 125, or sorry, Light Stuff 125 rather, may be going to overtime. The way things are going, it gives me that kind of feeling. Is we had a really speedy 75, really even 100 laps, and we've really slowed down.
I don't think we're going to see any slowing down on this restart, Andrew. We've got 6 to go right now. We're doubling up. We're coming back to green. It's going to be 5 laps to go. I don't know, Andrew. I think all bets are off coming back to the line.
It depends on whether or not these guys mind their P's and Q's this time, and clearly that last time they didn't. Corey Heim, Jake Fisher, each turned into each other. Unfortunately, they took a few others out with them. In this case, though, we're going to have 5 laps remaining. Zach Nichols, Cy Bowen on really old tires along with Gabe Herschel. Matt Kemp is on 15-lap old tires, which is 20 laps newer than the leaders. Leighton Sabile also in that 15-lap old tire camp along with Ryan Vargas, Andrew Schwartz, and Jonathan Taylor. And other drivers around them, it looks like all the way back, are all on 15-lap old tires to 14th with Manon Raman. So really, it's your top 3 that are on old tires. Everybody else is on relatively new ones. Only a few laps of green flag racing on them. Into the restart zone, 5 laps to go. Nichols fires early, and we are back green. And the light stuff, 125. Out of turn 2, a much cleaner restart this time. Ryan Vargas in the 4th spot, taking advantage of a couple of slower restarts from a couple of drivers around him. 1 lap complete from the restart. Kemp, the first car on tires. He's got to run here.
He's got 4 laps to go. Cy Bowen and Matt Kemp is looking for a way to get up to Zach Nichols. Vargas in the 4th spot. Sabile in the 5th spot. And Jonathan Taylor, Gabe Herschel rounding out 7th and 8th. It's so many people fighting around, and look at him on the outside line just trying to make something happen with what he's got. Been contending in the top 10 for most of the night. Sitting in 8th, I think he's got a really good shot at it as everyone's starting to rotate up to the top with 3 laps to go.
3 to go. Schwartz to the inside of Herschel for 7th. Meanwhile, further forward, Matt Kemp right on the back bumper of the 17 of Cy Bowen. He drives down low out of turn 4, and that might be enough for the 54 to take that spot away. That is for 2nd. With 2 laps to go, though, I don't think there's any catching Zach Nichols without a caution. So question is, do we see a caution in this last lap of racing? Does it come right here for 2nd? Does it come somewhere in the back? Does it not happen at all as Kemp slides in behind Bowen, trying to find a way around to the top side this time? All while this race will go official. The white flag is out, presented by Whiplash Simcams. 1 mile to go at Rockingham.
And Zach Nichols goes purple that lap, so you know he's driving away, and the fighting behind him is exactly what he wants to see. They're still fighting down the backstretch with a lot of guys just trying to find where they can go to finish out this race.
Final 2 corners in the light stuff, 125 for Zach Nichols. The 45 car is going to victory lane at Rockingham. Parker Chase crashes again. He got tagged coming into the line. All while car 45 will go to victory lane. Zach Nichols finally overcoming his long bad luck streak to start this season. He was your points leader after Daytona through stage points and dual points, but lost it quickly at Fontana and has fought back now to a race win this evening. So important for his season. He's been looking good, just this looks a whole lot better for him.
And Cy Bowen actually edged Matt Kemp for P2 at the line. Just such a great race all around from a lot of these guys. Just so much racing going all the way around the racetrack. Lots of contact too.
Look at this burnout from Zach Nichols. That is impressive.
Walking it all the way down to turn 1.
And he keeps going. A bit of a drift away there, and those rear tires, boy, are they cooked, but he's going to roll with it. Still running with it. Still trying to drift it out. And he's still going down the backstretch now. Thunder Alley at Rockingham Speedway. And he's going to drift it into turn 3. Use no outside wall. That is some car control. I'm impressed.
This reminds me of, you remember when Clint Boyer won that Martinsville race, snapped his winless streak, and he just started drifting and burning it down in the corners.
I know Denny Hamlin had a real good drift around the corners at Martinsville one year. That looked really solid there from Zach Nichols. Let's take a look at our unofficial race results after 125 laps and 125 miles this evening. Really solid stuff from this guy, car 45, but right behind him, Cy Bowen by 1.4 seconds, just edges the 54. 9/1000ths of a second there for 2nd. Ryan Vargas, he follows up from his Daytona win with a 4th place this evening. Leighton Sabile in the top 5. Jonathan Taylor, Andrew Schwartz, Barrett Polhemus, Gabe Herschel, and Ryan Pistana. How about that for a comeback for the 43 car? That's your top 10. A lot of good stories in the top 10. Really the back half of the bottom 5 here. Taylor had a really good run going, kind of all over the place, ends up securing a top 10 at least. Schwartz comes back into the top 10 in 7th after leading earlier. Barrett Polhemus kind of quiet, finishes 8th, missed a couple of crashes. Herschel, same deal. And Pistana was nearly in a lot of wrecks tonight, but thankfully I don't think I really saw him sideways at all. He finishes 10th. A lot of really close calls.
Yeah, and just the rest of the field. Keith Sherman in the 11th spot. Austin Moore, who was caught up in a lot of those late race wrecks, ends up finishing in the 12th spot. Manon Rahman in the 13th position. Jake Fisher, who was a contender for majority of this race, ends up 14th after that contact with Corey Heim. Doug DeNice in 15th. Sean Farr in the 16th position. Jake Fluman, another strong contender early on in this race, ends up 17th position. Ford Martin, who had an up and down race majority of the night, was running up inside the top 10. Majority of the time he spent towards the back of the field, but he was running mid-pack majority of the time, and he's going to round out in 18th position. And Chris Wetz in the 19th position. And Brian Mercurio, who also just had a crazy race unfold for him, ends up rounding out your 20th place position to finish out the top 20 cars.
Tristan Hagenstein finishes 21st. Cody Williams, Timmy Pacioli, they hang on for 22nd and 23rd. Paul Fode, never really able to overcome his deep starting positions. He finishes 24th in the light stuff 125. Parker Chase ends up 25th. Joel Smith, 26th, the only car one lap down and one of the only lapped cars still running at the end. Rotolo, 27th. Heim, 28th. Yanasho, 29th. And Jonathan Palmieri, 30th. You see the back five with Carson Bowers, Daniel Dye, Morgan Baird, Nate Stewart, and Peter Akimano. Really tough for Nate Stewart. Won the stage and ends up 34th. Just a really, really rough night for him. Not sure really what did him in, but ends up 34th position nonetheless. Zach Nichols got to burn it down this evening. We've had the pleasure of talking to him a couple of times, and he always was just wanting more. Tonight finally gets more out of the 45 car, and Zach Nichols goes to victory lane. Zach, wow, that has to feel like a monkey off your back.
Yeah, I mean, we struggled at the beginning. It made it look like we knew what we were doing, but our tires were terrible that first run, and we were out to lunch. But luckily, we were able to figure out that the top was pretty dominant, even like saving tires wise. And we were able to get up there before everyone else was, and come home with the win.
It's a nostalgic week on iRacing with the whole ARCA car, whatever you want to call it, Gen 4 now coming to the sim, kind of. Did it kind of feel like a return to some classic Rockingham racing? It looked that way with you guys being able to use the whole racetrack and the top being so good in really any way you wanted it to be.
Yeah, I mean, I passed low, I passed high. It was pretty fun. I mean, I haven't tried that Gen 4 car on here yet, but I hear that's pretty fun. So probably go do that after this.
Well, you finally get that win this season. I know we talked to you after, I think it was Las Vegas last week, and you were kind of disappointed with how things went at Fontana, but 2 really good weeks in a row to rebound, and you're in a really good spot here on the points.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a good season so far, except for Auto Club. We're looking good so far. Hopefully we can keep up the momentum, and I forget what track is next, but hopefully we do good there.
Atlanta.
Too. Oh yeah, I think you just said that, but hopefully we do good there.
Atlanta up next for car 45. We'll see if you can go back-to-back. Best of luck to you next week.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to shout out my dad for watching, my Uncle Kenny for watching, my teammates. We all finished 1, 2, 3, so that was pretty cool, and that's about it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Zach Nichols. A job well done this evening. And Zach, I know we just spoke to another Zach, but you're talking to Cy Bowen here, who goes second place this evening.
It's just a really great race from Cy. He was able to do a lot, and you know, Cy, just kind of walk us through what was going on. You were able to run up front and contend. You had a shot at the win. Obviously, didn't really fall your way with Zach Nichols taking the win, but just kind of tell us how everything really just unfolded for you after starting 32nd, or excuse me, you started 29th actually.
Yeah, it was trying to just surviving and trying to get to the top, because here in these cars, it's just the top is so superior. Just trying to maneuver and sometimes making it 3 wide, but it's a lot of checking up and just putting your nose where it'll fit. It wasn't very easy to get up front, but once we got up there, it was pretty consistent up there.
Well, you did an excellent job tonight holding off a lot of guys, and you know, we're rolling through the rest of the night. Going into next week, you got Atlanta next week. Just kind of walk us through how you feel about going into that track.
Not very good, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be just like a plate track with a little bit of lifting, and that's where the main crashes happen. So those I haven't done the best at. I think Vegas, I was running up front at Vegas, but ended up getting the black flag at the end. So I'm not super confident in there, but I kind of just want to go ahead and get some points and maybe get a win here or there, just to get locked in for the chase or the playoffs.
Well, talking about points, obviously a second place finish really does help with that, and we're looking to see you look good for running well at Atlanta next week. And just one final question, really, if you had to take anything away from this race, honestly, what would you say was just the biggest thing for you?
Saving that right front, and I should have probably practiced the high line up against the fence like Zach was running at the end, just to see how it would work. I didn't think it would be that superior compared to the middle, but once he got up there, he was gone. So I think saving the right front a little bit and trying to figure out that high line like he did.
Well, an excellent run out of you tonight. Second place, nothing to complain about. 5 laps led, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.
And Andrew, that was your second place finisher, and we're rolling down the line with Matt Kemp in the third place spot.
Matt Kemp has got a win on the season already from Auto Club Speedway. Doesn't quite follow that up with a win here this evening at Las Vegas, but Matt still very, very strong in car 54. You were definitely in contention, led, I think, one more lap than your buddy in Zach Nichols. It's got to feel like a good night overall.
Hey, I'll take any kind of stat I can get over Zach. Get to rub it in his face a little bit, but I know he won tonight, so I can't really do that. But it was a pretty fun race. It was definitely eventful, and pretty surprised we ended up P3 there at the end with how everything kind of played out, but grateful we did.
And that's where I was going next. The damage to each side of your race car. The attrition set in pretty quickly once we got past that first stage. What went on as far as all the calamity from your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, up front, it was mostly just Goober staying out on old tires, and some guys handled it better than others, but we had really, I mean, mostly a pretty clean race. I was really surprised with how tough this thing was to drive. It was really, really fun, honestly, once we got going on a green flag run, but yeah, towards the end, obviously, you expect a little bit of attrition. There was one run, I think I was in the lead and just hoping it would stay green, but I kind of knew at that point. I didn't really have my hopes up. I kind of figured we'd get more yellows, but yeah, just grateful to be able to come out for the top 3 out of it, because I think that's about best case scenario for me there.
It's Atlanta next week. It's a super speedway, and then off to, I think, Coda. A couple of challenging weeks ahead. Even Phoenix and Martinsville after that. Nothing's really straightforward. How do you put yourself in the best position you can for the chase?
Yeah, just trying to keep having runs like this and getting stage points, and yeah, it's I'm not much of a road ringer, so we'll see. I'm going to try to rack up as many points as I can before then, and hopefully just don't get wrecked out at Atlanta. But other than that, yeah, we'll see.
There you go, Matt Kemp this evening from the bottom step of the podium. I know it's the bottom step, but you are in the top 3 this evening. Matt, congratulations. We'll see you possibly next week at Atlanta.
Thank you guys for broadcasting. Shout out to my teammates. Great runs, fellas.
A great run indeed for car 54, car 45, car 17, everybody up there on the top 3. Zach, that was definitely one of the more unique races we've ever seen at Rockingham Speedway. One of the first ones we've seen on the channel, by the way, at Rockingham in a long time. First time I've covered Rockingham in a while, but definitely gave us all we could ask for. A lot of cautions, a lot of drama, a lot of tempers, a lot of lead changes as well.
Absolutely, and just what a crazy topsy-turvy race. I know it was only here for the second half, but I joined in and saw so much going on, so many different things happening on track just to keep up with. It was absolutely insane, and honestly, I can't wait to see what goes on in the next couple of weeks.
Atlanta is going to be a lot. I think that might be the best way to put it. It's going to be a lot. We've seen an uber competitive series. This is probably the most competitive series I've ever seen on iRacing with my own 2 eyes with this Gen 7 vehicle. It's really the most competitive we've ever covered as far as oval racing goes, at the very least. There's so many drivers that can win at any point in time, can lead at any point in time. These guys are on top of each other, and I think it shows. Not in a bad way, though. These guys they don't have enough racing room. I mean, the tracks are not wide enough for all the drivers we have that are at the front of the field and all equally competitive with one another and all find different ways to gain time or sometimes lose time or whatever. We just have a really, really competitive field of 30 some odd cars that can win each week. and they're all going for the same piece of real estate sometimes.
Yeah, you just have to really increase that on-track awareness of what's going on around you. Sometimes there's someone on your inside, sometimes there's someone on your outside, sometimes it's a little bit of both. You're 3 wide, and there's not much you can do about it. Short tracks tend to bring out the fury in some drivers sometimes, and you just got to be more aware of what's going on to be able to make passes, move forward, and just all around keep your car clean. Obviously, we're going from a short track to what is now a super speedway at Atlanta Motor Speedway, so you're probably still going to see a lot of the same amount of wrecking.
Yeah, it's hard to call Rockingham a short track, but it is right at that 1 mile mark, along with Dover and Phoenix and New Hampshire, tracks that, I personally think of as a short track. I know there's a big debate out there, kind of, do you extend that short track moniker up to 1 mile? But regardless, Rockingham definitely has that short track feel. It's tight, there's not a lot of racing room, and certainly the racing line is real thin, and it's easy to step over here at The Rock. Well, Light Stuff 125 did not disappoint. A big shout out and a big thank you to everybody at Firelight Esports and Light Stuff. Check out lightstuff.gg for information there. Check out their catalog and order yourself a piece of merchandise today. I certainly recommend it. Everything looks good over there. I really got to say, I was looking through it pre-race. Everything looks good over at lightstuff.gg. And a big shout out to them for picking up the bill this evening. Next week, when we return, we are in stage number 2, if you will, of the Hog Tamers Triple Cup Challenge. It started last week at Las Vegas. Michael P. Frisch was the first beneficiary, if you will, taking $100 for winning at Las Vegas. Next week we go to Atlanta Motor Speedway. The same opportunity is up for any driver in the field to win $100 for winning. $30 for the pole, $20 for the hard charger, and if you win more than one race, consider that an extra $50 for you as well. So really, it's $150 if you win a second race and even a third. So a lot on the line there. How about some upcoming broadcasts on the channel, though? That includes Atlanta next week. First up, Zach, the new late model stock. You can't escape it on social media, on the internet in general. If you're around iRacing and the oval scene, you can't escape this new late model stock car. We've got it for you this Friday evening this week. March 10th at 6 Eastern. It's the Elite Performance Industries Late Model Showdown, and I am excited.
It's definitely going to be interesting. I can't get around my work schedule. I'd love to race it. It seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. But even if you can't race, if you want to, just tune in on Pit Stop TV on YouTube, or you can follow us along on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on Twitch as well if you want to see all the action that's going to be unfolding the rest of the week. We've got, obviously, Friday, we got Elite Performance Industries at North Wilkesboro with the Late Model Showdown. You've got the Hell for Leather League on Tuesday, and then UFL right back here Wednesday night, same time, for some great racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And just, I'm so excited to see what's been going on the rest of this week, and going into next week too. There's so much great stuff to follow along with.
And we may have more on the late model stock car front. Just tune in Monday, potentially. We might have something going on. No guarantees, but maybe, just maybe. And if you're familiar with late models when they run SOFs, well, you might already be kind of queuing into what we might be doing. And it's a big might. It's not set in stone yet, but I know parties want to make it happen. So if they're out there listening, this is your wake-up call. Let's make it happen Monday night. Let's do some stuff with some late models. But regardless, a lot of great races coming up, no matter what. And that 100-lapper, that is the biggest race of the year for late model stocks, at least that we've seen, and I think that we will see this year. 50 drivers already signed up. That was before we started this broadcast. 50 drivers already signed up. We are going to have some heat races. That's for sure on Friday evening. Thanks for tuning in this evening. Thanks for joining us on Pit Stop TV. Make sure to follow along on our social media channels there across the bottom of the screen. Thanks so much to everybody who makes things happen here at the channel and every little piece that goes into it in audio, ATVO, Whiplash Media, SimCams, OBS, and iRacing.com. We will see you all next time, Friday evening, for the EPI Late Model Showdown from North Wilkesboro.